right, hello, we are going to get started. Take this out, okay. So I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Julie Howard, and I am the adult programming librarian here at the Ocean City Free Public Library. On behalf of the library and OC Reads, I would like to thank all of you for being here with us tonight for our OC Reads author talk with Brendan Slocumb, author of our 2023 selection, The Violin Conspiracy. I would also like to extend a big thank you to classy chef Anne-Marie Chelius and Atlantic Cape Community College for the delicious violin cookies that hopefully all of you have sampled, and please take some more if you haven't tried already. And lastly, I want to thank our wonderful OC Reads committee for their time and commitment during our selection process for this year's book. We would like to honor and remember our founder of the library's OC Reads program, Dot Turner, who we lost earlier this year. She was a trailblazer, an avid reader, and beloved by many, I'm sure many in this room. By coming together as a community to share our love of books, we celebrate her. This year's book, The Violin Conspiracy, invites the reader on an important journey. Like many of you who read this book, I was immediately captivated by the main character, Ray, and was rooting for him to succeed, not only in recovering his stolen violin, but in proving the naysayers wrong about his talents as a musician. Despite the many obstacles he faced and those who underestimated him, he kept going. He demonstrated the power of pursuing your dreams and doing what you love and not wasting any energy on those who don't believe in you. Just prove them wrong, which is what Ray did. His passion for music outshone everything else. And we also see the power in the book of an unwavering mentor. For Ray, that was his teacher, Dr. Janice Stevens, and I hope that we can all recognize the importance of mentors like this in our lives and the importance of lifting up and supporting those who have larger obstacles working against them so that they too can succeed. We were very proud to select The Violin Conspiracy as our 2023 OC Reads Community Reads book and to bring these larger discussions to our community. Now, I would like to introduce our visiting author tonight. Brendan Slocumb was raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and holds a degree in music education with concentrations in violin and viola from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. For more than 20 years, he has been a public and private school music educator and has performed with orchestras throughout Northern Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., including the Washington Metropolitan Symphony, the McLean Symphony, the Prince George's Philharmonic, and the Alexandria Symphony. He has served as the concertmaster for the NOVA-Annandale Symphony Orchestra and regularly performs chamber music with members of the Alexandria Chamber Music Society. He has maintained a private music studio teaching lessons to students on violin, guitar, and piano. He is the author of The Violin Conspiracy, a Good Morning America book club pick, and Symphony of Secrets, an indie-bound bestseller, which came out just this past year. Brendan is now at work on his third novel, scheduled for release in 2025. It is with great pleasure and honor that I now present our visiting author, Brendan Slocumb.
Thank you. Give it up for Julie. All right, so I've got to tell you guys, I'm going to take this out and walk around, if that's okay. This is, all right, so yeah, we'll see. What a good-looking crowd. Wow, I don't even have my contacts in, and I can see how good you guys look. Wow, very nice. Thank you for that introduction. Just listening to that makes me sound a lot cooler than I am. So I'm glad I wrote it that way. Thank you guys so much for, one, choosing The Violin Conspiracy. Thank you so much for reading The Violin Conspiracy. Thank you so much for supporting The Violin Conspiracy. I am eternally grateful. That book means a lot to me for a couple of different reasons. One, that was my very first book. And two, someone, as we were coming in, someone said, I thought it was a biography. I was like, well, is it? How many of you thought that it was a biography? Okay, it's only a very small snippet of a biography that I will be writing at some point, and believe me, it's the least of what's gone on in Brendan's life. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't, but well, anyway, we'll see. We'll get through all of that. All right, so wait, has everyone read The Violin Conspiracy? Is there anyone in here who has not read it? Keep it real. Yeah, okay, I know there's one. So I will not give any spoilers because you guys know everything already, but you have to excuse me 1 second. It's warmer in Ocean City than I thought it would. All right, so just to recap, The Violin Conspiracy is a story of a man named Ray who discovers that his old family fiddle is actually a priceless Stradivarius violin, and that discovery catapults him into superstardom in the world of classical music. And right before the Tchaikovsky competition, the Olympics of classical music, his instrument is stolen. Will he get it back? Will he compete? Will he win? Who took it? Was it the Marx family who thinks that it was rightfully theirs because their great-great-grandfather owned Ray's great-grandfather? Was it his family who thinks that he should sell that instrument and split $10 million and just buy a $2,000 violin, you know? Was it his teacher who might have been a bit jealous? How many of you thought it was the teacher? Mm-hmm. Speaking of, how many teachers do we have in here? Current or, Okay, I absolutely love you guys because I know how hard your job is as a teacher. I was in the classroom for 20 some odd years, and thank you for what you do. Only one group of people that I admire and respect more than teachers, only one. We're the librarians. Yes, absolutely. Librarians, you guys, you're way up here. You're like Billy D. Williams status. No, when I was a kid, people often ask me, you know, did you do a lot of reading as a kid? And I remember going to the library every other weekend. My mom would take us to the library, and I would ask, I was like, Mom, did we really do that, or was I just imagining things? And she said, with a straight face, the library was the best free thing that we could do as a family. And I'm like, you know, and she was actually setting us up to have a love of reading, and I didn't realize it, and I was like, wow, stacks of books. I was really into science, birds, airplanes, plants, trees, dinosaurs, sea creatures, all of that stuff. You name it, I could tell you what it was. Anyone know? Y'all, a ton of teachers in here, so I'm not even going to give you any trivia questions. You'll probably get them right. My older brother would get books about airplanes. He could tell you every kind of airplane that has ever been manufactured. Any vets in here? Any? Thank you, sir, for your service. Any Air Force people? Air Force? Yeah. Okay. A-10 Warthog? Okay. Oh, yeah, I know that one too. A-10 Warthog is my absolute favorite plane. It's been decommissioned. But when I was talking to some general in D.C. about, I guess he was a general, I don't know. I went like that, so he must have been. He told me that A-10 Warthog is one of my favorite planes. And he was like, the A-10 Warthog is not a plane. It's a tank with wings. That made it even cooler. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Anyway, libraries are awesome, people are awesome stuff. So, Brendan, how did you come to playing the violin? That is a good question. Who asked that? That was awesome. All right, so, when I was 9 years, well, first off, why didn't he dress up for this? I used to go to events like this with a suit on, and then I went with just a tie and no jacket, and then I went with just a jacket and no tie, and it's not me. It's so inauthentic, and I cannot do that to anyone who supports me. I can't. If you know me, Brendan, this is you. Whenever I was in school, when I was teaching class, I would walk in, and my student, first thing they would say, you have a meeting with the principal today, don't you? I was like, how'd you guess? You have on a tie. All right, so this is not, I mean, this is it. This is me. And I got this shirt in the Philippines. Anybody knows what this says? Anyone? It means life. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Fashion tips from Brendan. All right. Oh, yeah, that and the Batman socks, yes. You have to have a strong sock game. You have to. So where was I talking about? Right, thank you. You guys are focused and paying attention. I love it. Must be teachers. All right, so when I was 9 years old, I was a terrible student. Absolutely terrible. I was in the 5th grade. Terrible. The opportunity to play a stringed instrument came along. There was a public school music program. I didn't hear any of that. All I heard was, you get out of class twice a week. I am in, 100% I'm in. And my friends were like, yeah, we'll do it. We're going to do it too. Sure. They ended up not doing it, and I did. And the greatest gift my father ever gave to me was the violin that he picked up for me right before the classes started. And are there any musicians in here? I play the radio. That counts. Well, as a violinist, I learned it's a temperamental piece of wood. And, temperature changes have a lot to do with how well the instrument functions. So it was October, and in North Carolina, it was really cold back in October, and this violin is sitting in the trunk of his car. And that was a big, big, big no-no, and I'm surprised it didn't crack into a million billion pieces, but that's neither here nor there. We've all learned our lesson since then. And the first class we had, I learned a song, the very first class we had. I learned how to hold the instrument, and I learned the open strings, and I played a song. And I teach that song to all of my beginning students. And there's first day I learned to play something. And my teacher she said that I was doing well, and I loved it. Not because I got out of class twice a week, but that was a perk. But I was actually doing well, and it was fun. All right, this is cool. When I was in 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade, everything was great. I was still not doing my work because I got out of class twice a week, so that was my excuse. My teacher said to me when I was in 8th grade, I know your math teacher very well. I was like, oh. And she tells me you're not passing her class. And I had to explain to her that she was just mean. It wasn't that I, wasn't capable. She was just a mean lady. She really was mean. She was mean as a snake. Miss Calloway. Do anyone know her? She was mean. And I was the kid who had to sit in the corner. I was the kid who had to face the opposite direction with everyone else in the class. And I was like, well, we don't like each other. That's just a mutual thing. We've decided that we just didn't like each other. So she said to me, if you don't start passing her class, I'm not going to let you play anymore. That's all it took. I was an angel. I started doing my homework. I started making good grades. And I was all, it's not hard to be smart. Why haven't I been doing this the whole time? I didn't get it. So I did my work, and it actually, violin motivated me to get good grades. And I was like, all right, fine. My senior year in high school, I had zero aspirations of doing anything other than graduating. Was just going to kind of sit at home and maybe join the military. I was from a military town. Whatever. My brother joined the military. Why not? Okay, sure. My teacher said to me, what are you going to do? It's like, when? When you graduate from college, or from high school. I was like, I don't know. That's not until June. I don't know. And she said, I think that you should audition at UNC Greensboro. Audition for what? To get into the School of Music. It's like, why would I do that? Because I think you would make a good teacher. It's like, why do you think that? Because you're a good student. I was actually in the marching band, and I was the drum major for the marching band, and I taught all the drills and music and everything. I was doing that. She's like, you know what you're doing. I'm like, all right, sure. So she drove me up there on a Saturday. I had never taken private lessons ever. And I walk into, most music majors, they prepare for these things by taking lessons, for a couple of years. Never had a lesson. I walked in and I played a piece of music. And the cello professor asked me who my private teacher was. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't have one. He was like, how are you doing this? I was like, I'm just doing it. It's like I'm pretending it's a tennis shoe and I'm just doing it. That was the Nike slogan a while back. Okay, yeah. So he said, you have a lovely vibrato. How are you doing? I was like, dude, I'm just doing it. He's like, okay. So I thought I bombed the audition. I went home. It was no big deal. I got a call that same night that said, not only did I make it into the School of Music, but I got a scholarship. Wow. Couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. And I'm like, wow, I'm really going to college. I'm actually going to college. It was great. Awesome. My first year, my very first private lesson, my freshman year of college, was with Sir Trevor Williams. He was the concertmaster for the BBC Symphony in London. He would come back and forth from London. He was about 78 years old. He would come back and forth from London every couple of weeks, teach us 2 lessons in a week, and then fly back to England to teach, and then come back. So he was tired all the time. He'd fallen asleep. We would, like, in our studio, hey, did he fall asleep in your lesson? Yeah, he fell asleep. See, I have him first thing in the morning. I didn't even have to play a note. It was great. And I had him in the afternoon, so he's actually cranky all the time. About 4 weeks into the semester, I'm playing the Bach A minor concerto, which I will never play again because of this man, and he made me absolutely hate this piece. I played a B instead of a B flat, and he woke up, I guess that woke him up, and he grabbed my hand and he said, "Brendan, Bach would never write a major third there. What are you thinking?" And I was like, I don't even know what a major third is, dude. Like, I'm sorry I offended you, and I'm sorry I offended Bach. Dude, really? And then he said to me, and this one actually hurt, he said, "Brendan, your hands are too large to ever play violin in tune. I can't teach you." I was like, you know more than I do. Great. So I quit. Oh, no. I did. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm not taking lessons anymore. I quit my lessons. I dropped them. It was right at the time I could drop without penalty. I dropped violin lessons, and I just played in the orchestra for the rest of the semester. And the next semester, I didn't take any lessons or play or anything. I just kind of, and the faculty and staff understood that this guy was not the best fit for the students, and we had another teacher come in. This is where Dr. Janice Stevens comes in. How many of you liked her in the story? My favorite, she's my heart. And I'll tell you why in a second. My Dr. Janice Stevens came in and auditioned. I will never forget the piece she played. She played the Zagan by Maurice Ravel. I had never heard that piece before, and she completely blew me out of the water. I just could not believe. She's about this tall, thin lady, just you would never expect her to play as aggressively and beautifully as she did, and it was incredible, and I just was enamored from the first note she played. And I told her what my old teacher said, and she laughed. She was like, "That's whatever. Have you ever heard of Itzhak Perlman?" And I was like, "Yeah." Israeli violinist. She's like, "His hands are twice the size of yours, and he plays beautifully." She's like, "I can teach you." Awesome, sure, let's do it. So she taught me every single thing that I know. And she took a chance on me, and I wanted to please her. I went from not practicing to practicing 3.5 hours every single day. Sunday through Monday, that was wrong. Monday through Sunday. 7 days I got practice in, yeah. Every single day I practiced, and I wanted to please her because she took her time and energy and invested it in me, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to let you down. There's absolutely no way. So she is my Dr. Janice Stevens, and her name is Dr. Rachel Vetter Huang, and I actually had not talked to her in 27 years. I remember I used to babysit her son when she had a kid. She's like, "Brendan, are you available to babysit?" "Lady, I will do your laundry if you want me to. Whatever you want me to do, I will do it." So I used to babysit her son, and he's 28 now, and I saw him, I found him on Facebook. I was like, "Dude, you don't know me." But when you were a baby, you used to ride on my back, and we used to do blah, 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 and your mom and dad used to say blah, and it was just like, he didn't say a word, he just like, "Accept." Okay, cool, all right, this guy's cool, all right, I like him. And I saw her on a Zoom call. You guys remember Zoom? Ugh. Is virtual not the worst word in the world? I think it should be stricken from our vocabulary. I hate that word. After I finished writing the manuscript to Violin Conspiracy, my agent, who is a really good friend of mine now, but we had some growing pains. "Why'd you have growing pains?" "I'm glad you asked." So before I finish the Dr. Janice Stevens story, my agent, okay. So looking at me, I'm probably the only person that looks like me in here right now. What do you mean? I'm the only one wearing a hat. No, yeah, okay, so I'm like a unicorn in a sea of, right. So my agent was, when the whole concept of the violin, all the musical things that are in the book, I'm so accustomed to this because I don't know, I don't want to speculate on what the rationale is, but I am so accustomed to people questioning what I do, the way that I do it, to make sure everything is right. Are you sure this is correct? Are you sure you did it right? I'm so used to hearing it, and I'm like, yes, everything is correct. So my agent, before we were friends, we had a ton of fights. And one of the fights was, I'm going to give you two examples of fights. That's a lovely green you're wearing. Two of the fights, the first one was the protagonist's name. What's the protagonist's full name? Raekwon. He said to me, Brendan, you got to change the name of the protagonist. And I was all, why, Jeff? And he said, because I can't sell a book with a protagonist named Raekwon. And I was all, why, Jeff? And he was all, I just can't. And then I was all, why, Jeff? He said, I just can't. No one's going to take this seriously. And I was all, oh, I see. Well, not everyone's name is Bob and Jim and John and Jeff and Michael and, Robert. I know 10 people named Raekwon. It's like, I still think you should change the name. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I absolutely will not do it. People need to see themselves represented. People need to see themselves represented. And I put up a fight, and I won that fight. And he actually said to me, I am so glad you convinced me. I'm really glad. I learned something. I was like, dude, okay, you're not a jerk. All right, I like you. He was open to learning that, and I thought that was fantastic. And that's one reason we're such good friends, and I trust him so much. And, my career is in his hands, and I think it's kind of going okay so far. Yeah. All right, don't tell him I said that, because then he'll be all... Then he'll think he's cooler than he is. We can't have that. There was another part of that. We had a fight. What else did we fight about? Oh, I remember. You're supposed to be helping me with this, Julie. Jeez, you had a blank. So the other, I mentioned that I'm constantly having to prove over and over that I know what I'm talking about. After I finished the manuscript, he said, who can verify all of this stuff with the music that you've done? And I just kind of looked at him and was like, dude, you realize that's kind of what this book is about, and I really hate it when people do that because I get second guessed all the time because I don't look like the typical violinist and I don't look like I know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. And he was like, look, you got to make sure everything is right because if there's one thing wrong with this or inaccurate, it'll just derail the whole thing. All right, fine. We'll call my teacher. I hadn't talked to her in 27 years. We set up a Zoom call. She comes on the screen, and the waterworks just happen. So she and her husband are on the screen, and then just, it was a nice reunion. I sent her the manuscript. She said, she wrote me back the next day. She was like, Brendan, I had only planned on reading for half an hour. But 3 hours later, I just could not put it down. And I can't believe you remember those conversations we had, those lessons we had. And my response was, you taught me every single thing I know. Why would I not remember that? And tears started coming in. So with my agent next to me, I said, Dr. Huang, is everything accurate? Everything is spot on. And I looked at my agent. I will never question you again. Thank you. All right, finally, God, all right. I know what I'm doing. So I said all of that to kind of say one of the themes in the Violin Conspiracy is, pursuing what it is that you love to do, even in the face of adversity. And did you guys think that Ray had some adversity? Started at home and it just never stopped, right? So one question, I'm probably jumping ahead with this question and I'm about to answer. One question was your family really like that? No, I promise they were not. My mom would never actively try to stop me from pursuing music. And why did you make the family so, And I was all, is there a single person in here who cannot relate to family dysfunction? Anyone? Because if you don't know anything about family dysfunction, you should write a book. Everyone can relate, maybe not to that extent, but everyone can relate to family dysfunction in one form or another. So I thought it was highly relatable. So with this particular story, I wanted people to understand that whatever you want to do, you should do it, regardless of your race, your age, your sex, your whatever, your haircut, your accent, your zip code, your bank account, doesn't matter. Do what you want to do. There is not. Classical music has been considered for a long time by a lot of people an elitist activity. It's totally not. And people look at me, why do you like classical music? Are you really a violinist? Can you really play this stuff? Yeah, why would I not? Well, you don't look the type. Well, what is the type? Well, normally I see old white men on TV in tuxedos. Well, I got a tuxedo. I can play, so it's been interesting, and I'm constantly having to, I don't want to say prove myself, but it really is kind of proving myself. I have to. I have gone in and sat down, like Julie read all of the orchestras and everything that I've played with, and fortunately, those have been pretty good, but I will go in to play a gig, and people will just see my name. They won't know who I am, and they'll assume that I'm a certain race, I guess by my name, because Brendan Slocumb is an Anglo-sounding name, would you think?
Right.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I want to see your ID. No, it's really me. So I have gone in and sat to play. You guys know Handel's Messiah.
Yeah.
Do you guys do Messiah sing-alongs here? No? Yeah, maybe. King of Kings. Yeah. It's coming up in next month. Next month, ladies, next month. So I've gone in to play the Messiah, and I've been playing the Messiah since I was in high school. I have played it every Easter, every Christmas since high school. I can play the first violin part, I can play the second violin part, I can play the viola part. If I had to, I could play the cello part because I played it that many times. I've gone in, the last time I played it pre-COVID, I walked into a church, sit down, it's a new director. All right, here we go, I'm ready. He takes one look at me, he goes over, would you go and sit next to him and help him with this part? I'm just kind of like, don't say a word. All right, okay, cool. And the person that comes to help me is a young lady in college. Like, okay, well, she played fine. So we're playing through. She's making a ton of mistakes. And I'm like, no, do this like this. Do this way. Play it in this position. Play it this way. Stylistically, the articulation should be like this. Put the trill here. Do this, do this, do this. Wow, you really know this. Yeah, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive, yeah. And so the moral of the story is truly don't judge a book by its cover, and I've had to deal with that for as long as I can remember. I'm constantly doing that. And people say to me, Brendan, how are you such a nice guy even after having to deal with all of this stuff all the time? My response is, I have a choice. I have a choice to be a victim, or I can make lemonade out of lemons. And I choose to make the lemonade. Those of you that were at lunch with me today notice I got lemonade. That's why, see? Yeah. So it's a choice. I choose not to be a victim. I absolutely refuse to be a victim. And does it suck having to constantly prove myself? Yes, it sucks. It is exhausting. Why do I have to play twice as well as a person sitting next to me? Why is it when I go, okay, this is a story, this is the honest truth, I'm not even kidding. A couple of years ago, I think it was in 2013, I am down in southern Maryland. I'm conducting a district orchestra. I was chosen, again, just saw my name, they didn't know what I looked like. I know somebody got it. And I go in to conduct the orchestra. It's on a Friday, so this is a rehearsal. I walk in, I had a t-shirt on, wasn't quite this tight, and I'm walking in and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. No lie. One of the teachers, she looked at me and she said, the garbage is over there, you can take it out. I'm not even kidding. And I just kind of, all right, it's lovely, that's great. When the custodian gets here, I'll be sure to let him know where the garbage is. But I'm here to direct. They didn't believe it. I'm like, all right. So I walk over to a kid with a violin. Can I hold your instrument? No. All right, can I hold your, no. Finally, there was someone brave enough to hand me their instrument. I play something. Oh, wow, you really do know what you're doing. Yeah, I do. Can we, it's, and people say, how do you deal with this? This is my response, and I mean it. I'm very, very, very serious about this, and I take this seriously. I will take those hits so that the next person who looks like me doesn't have to. Oh. That totally wasn't an applause line, but I appreciate it. Yeah, I just think it's important that, I don't want my nephew's like 8 years old, and I want him to be able to go anywhere he wants and to be able to do anything that he wants to do because he loves it, not because it's a stereotypical thing or someone thinks that he can't just because of his skin color. I never, ever, ever want anyone else to have to go through that because it does hurt, it sucks, it stings. But you've got tattoos, how do you play the violin so well? I don't know. Because I had a great teacher. My teacher was awesome, and yeah, she's amazing. I think I'm actually going to write a book about her. I think I am. I think I should. I mean, everything you see and hear is because of her. Everything that I know, everything. And I tell my students all the time, this is how I was taught. So I'm going to give you guys the experience that I got because I want you to be successful. And this is the best way I know for you to do it. And I'm so grateful to my teacher for that. Just like Ray is in the book to Dr. Janice Stevens. How many of you think she loved him? Yeah, I think it would be safe to say that she actually loved him. All right, so speaking of love. You should just answer it at this point. All right, so we know what her alma mater is. That's great. Wonderful. What was I saying? Love. To the one person who has not read this book, I got to say, I'm impressed that there's only one person that hasn't read the book. That's great. I was in Colorado the other day, and like half the people I'm going to get it. Yeah, sure you will. Okay. But speaking of love, did Nicole love Ray? I think she did too. I really think she loved him. I think she was sorry she got busted, but yeah, she loved him. If that's love. True, right. So yeah, Nicole. And one question I get quite often, and I hope no one has actually written this question down, but the question I get about Nicole is, what was Nicole's race?
Oh. Didn't matter. Didn't even think of that.
What did you assume?
I assumed that she was African American.
Really? You thought she was black? How many of you thought she was white? Oh, see, look around, I'm telling you. How many of you thought she was black? How many of you thought she was Asian? How many of you thought she was a Latina? No one?
I didn't think about it at all.
Really?
I didn't even think about that.
Okay. I got a lot of flack from my editor because I didn't give more information about Nicole's appearance, her race. And my people ask me all the time, why did you leave that out? I did it intentionally. I wanted the reader to realize that we place our own biases on people. Why am I thinking that she's this or this or this? What is it that makes me think that? I've gotten a variety of answers. Some people, well, I thought because she was from Erie, Pennsylvania, and she played in an orchestra, of course she was white. And I'm like, okay, well, other people, I thought because she was so supportive and loving of Ray, and she could identify with him, that she was black. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, well, what was she? I'll never tell. But Nicole was actually based on a friend of mine who I played in a symphony with, and she, right during the pandemic, it was in July, we were having lunch. She was like, yeah, I'm moving to St. Louis. And I was like, oh, we used to play together in the orchestra, and we're good friends. And she said, yeah, I'm moving to St. Louis. I was like, no. I was like, oh, I'm writing a book. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. No, you're not. Yeah, I am, and I'm going to put you in it just because you said that. No, you're not. Fine. Okay. And then when she read it, Brendan, I cannot believe you actually did that. I told you I was going to. Don't doubt me. Anyway, no, just kidding. So, speaking of love, also, one of the loveliest characters in the book, and I should have worn my pink shirt today, Grandma Nora. People ask me, was Grandma Nora real? Grandma Nora was my actual grandmother. She was a real person. She was literally this tall. Wait a minute. She's about this tall. Pink and green roll. Her hair was as blue as this table. I don't know if y'all do that here. Y'all probably aren't old enough to do this, but like she would put that blue stuff in her hair. Was it bluing? I don't understand what the purpose is, but it would turn. How many of you have seen that? That's a real thing. Look, do you know why she did that? It's like indigo hair. Why? I was fascinated with my grandmother's hair. It's like, Grandma, your hair is blue. It wasn't gray because it was blue. I'm like, all right. And she would wear pink and green rollers in her hair, and they would fall out, and I'm walking behind her, just picking them up, snapping them at my brothers and sisters. And it was just, that was my grandma. And I asked my cousins, my aunts and uncles, and my mom, and I was like, was it me or was she really that sweet? And they all had the same thing to say. She never had anything bad to say about anyone. It's like, wow. She was telling me she had like 14 kids. And that was a big family. So she was telling me, one of my aunts was telling me, I remember getting into a fight with some girl down the street, and I went and told Mom, and she was all, maybe the girl was having a bad day. Wow, she took the girl's side over yours, Auntie? Okay. Anyway, that was my grandma Nora, and we actually had some of those conversations, and she was the sweetest woman on the planet. And if you don't have a grandma Nora, you have missed out. And if you are a grandma Nora, bless you. I can see a bunch of grandma Noras in here. Yeah, all we need is the blue stuff for the hair. Do they still sell that stuff? Really? You know what? If I had hair, I'd probably try it. It's from all those years of teaching. There's nothing there. No, just kidding. So my grandma was an actual real person. Now, I would be curious to hear what your thoughts are on the Marx family. Has anyone ever known anyone with a sense of entitlement? Anyone? No, we don't know anybody like that. No, not here in Ocean City. No, never. The Marx family are really, really interesting. They're an interesting set of characters for this story. I originally put them in just as like a distraction comic relief. And then I was like, you know what? They can play a bigger part in this book, I think, because everyone knows someone like the Marx family. Dante and Andrea, everyone knows someone like them who truly feel like they are entitled. And you think about it, what makes a person think that over 100 years ago, my great-great-grandfather owned your great-great-grandfather as a slave, and you have this fiddle that was in my family, so you got to give it to me. Truly, the expectation was that they would just get it back, and they truly believe that. Does anyone know people like that? If you do, I am really, really sorry. It sucks that there are people out there like that, and it's a real thing. But, they were originally just kind of comic relief, and I figured they'd play a bigger role. And it was interesting how, they just kind of walked into his house. Yeah. Some of you are like, ooh, have I ever done that? You guys don't do that. You guys are nice. We don't do that here in Ocean City. I know we don't do that. But they were a really interesting set of characters, and that was just kind of fun to do. But so the Tchaikovsky competition, is that a real thing? It's 100% real. People would ask me. I had to Google it to see if it was a legitimate thing. And yes, and one question I often get: have I ever competed in the Tchaikovsky competition? When I was in college, we would get the flyers for what their repertoire would be, and okay, I played this, I can play this, I can learn this. No, I don't know that one. No, don't want. No, I'm not going to do it this year. And we just look in the studio and see who would be willing to audition for the Tchaikovsky competition. And one of the things was, do I feel like they should have it? I think it was supposed to take place in '24, and my thoughts are, tell me if you agree or disagree. When you are training for something, the kids that enter these competitions, I say kids, they're up to, I think it's from age 8 through 20, 7, I think. And you think about it, some of these kids, literally, from their first year of playing an instrument or singing, they are in training for this competition. From the time they can walk, they're in training for this. And it takes place in Moscow. But we know what's going on with Russia right now. So the question is, do you think that they should be allowed to compete? Should they still have the competition? Is it fair to take away that opportunity from someone who's been working for that their entire life? What are y'all's thoughts? Is it safe? It's safe if you're not American. Yeah. It doesn't matter. The only American to ever win the Tchaikovsky competition was Van Cliburn in the 50s. And Ray McMillan came in second. But and some people say to me, Brendan, how come you didn't let Ray win? People ask me that. And my response is, this is my response. Ray didn't have lessons until he got to college. He didn't have his own violin. He's in another country representing the United States. He's worried about trying to find his instrument, and he comes in second, which means that he's the second best player in the world. How is that not a win? Everything he did was a win. You don't have to come in first place to be a winner. I don't know. He should have stayed for that extra rehearsal. That would have probably done it. Yeah. But it's one of those things where people you're not a winner unless you come in first. It's not the prize. It's the work that you put into it. And I wanted people to see that. He's like, you don't have to. He's still a winner regardless. He is a winner, and that's the reason that he's a winner. But some of the music that's in the Violin Conspiracy, I often get asked, I get statements get made. You did such beautiful representations of the music. How did you do that? Is that how you really feel? Y'all are asking some great questions today, I tell you. When I was writing my first draft, everything was technical. Wait, who are the musicians in here besides the radio players? No? Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, you look like a musician. Piano, right? Of course. Ooh. You could sing the Hallelujah chorus for us. You could do the first soprano part. She'll be doing a sing-along right after this. So, what was I saying?
Technical.
Thank you. You're fired. No, just kidding. Jokes. No, with the musical descriptions, the first draft that I wrote, everything was technical. You use a martellet bowing here. You do the articulation with the spiccato going to a blah, 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 all these Italian terms. And it made perfect sense to me. And I let a non-musician read it. And they were like, I don't know what this is. Okay, I have to use metaphors. I have to use imagery. And then I was asked the question. I asked my agent, I was like, so what's the best way to go about this? And he just flat out said, what does it feel like when you play? I know you've played most of this stuff. Yes, I played most of the music in the Violin Conspiracy. That's why I chose it. It's stuff that I've been playing since I learned how to play the violin, since I was in high school. That's the music I love, and I wanted to introduce people to it. And I've had a lot of my students play these pieces too. And, they tell their kids now, I played this when I was in high school. And the kids are like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, we really did. This is what we did. Now watch, it's going to go blah, blah, blah. And they can, they totally do that. And my thing was, how do I feel when I'm playing? Genuinely, that is the description. That's what it feels like every time I get to play my instrument. Every time I sit in a symphony and I play, that's the feeling that I get. One of the descriptions was of a Mozart sonata. One of my favorite Mozart sonatas, the E minor, is a lovely piece. And the second movement, Nicole asked Ray to play it a little bit slower. And he was like, no, but the teacher told me to play. She's like, I know. But just slow it down, just a little bit for me. Okay, fine. So when I was listening to that movement, I was like, yeah, I hadn't heard this in a long time. One of the descriptions I wrote was, the tempo that he normally took, it was like a cupid zipping from cloud to cloud to cloud. But Nicole was right. When I slowed it down, the cupids could hop gingerly from cloud to cloud. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what it was like. So I want people, even if you're not a musician, this book was really written, the musical sections, for non-musicians. I want you to be able to experience what it is like for us every single time. And people ask, is that really what it's like? every single time I pick up an instrument or I listen to something that I enjoy. Every time, that's what it is. And it is such a gift to be able, not only is it a gift for me to be able to play this stuff, but to experience it. And I want everyone to be able to have that experience. So when people say, classical music is not for you, you don't look like you would enjoy classical music. Oh, please. I just hate that people are being denied the opportunity to have this feeling that I've been so blessed to be able to have. And one of my students, I was at a book signing in North Carolina. I was teaching in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and one of my first she was one of my first students. She's in line. I didn't recognize, I'm sitting there signing books, and she comes up to me and she just stands there. You don't remember me, do you? And I looked. Tori. Oh my gosh, that was 25. Yes, I remember you. And I'm giving her a hug, and she says to me, she whispers in my ear, she said, my sons are playing, and they're both instrumentalists now. One plays guitar, one plays the piano, and I will never forget the day that you told us, if you're doing it right and your heart is in it, you will get a chill down your spine. I will never forget the day that I got that chill down my spine, and my sons came to me the other day, and they said that they got a feeling after they were playing something, and I'm like, the tears are coming, and I'm like, oh, it's so good to see. She looked fantastic for 25 years later. She was in high school when I saw her, but yeah, she's married. It's okay. She's married. But I just want everyone to be able to experience that because it's done so much for me. And I often say, my mantra is, music is for everyone. Music is a life-saving force. What do you mean? Life-saving? Y'all ask the best questions, I tell you. Music truly is a life-saving force. I would be dead or in prison right now were it not for music. Why do you say that? I'll tell you why. Because when I was younger, before I started the violin, I was running around with a terrible crowd. I was only 9 years old, but we started young back where I was. It was a bad neighborhood, breaking stuff, breaking windows, vandalism, just, breaking into people's houses. I was always on watch. I never broke into anyone's house. Just bad stuff. I was bad because that's what it was. That was the expectation. Back then, I was born in the 70s, growing up in the 80s, people that looked like me, we were an endangered species. And the reason I say that is because life expectancy, if you made it to 25, you were an anomaly. Like either you were in jail or you were dead by the time you hit 25. It was that bad. And the violin came into my life, and when my friends were breaking into people's houses, I was practicing. When they were vandalizing stuff, I was in a rehearsal. When they were off doing stuff they should not have been doing, I was on a trip. The first time I ever got to go to New York City was because of my violin. I played in Central Park. I thought I was the man. I was like, yes, I did that. First time I got to fly. I flew to a competition from Fayetteville, North Carolina to Detroit, Michigan, because I won a local competition and I got to compete nationally. Insane, because of my violin. I went to college because of my violin. It kept me out of trouble. And so it is a life-saving force. Music is the only thing that you can go across the world, not speak the language, and have an instant connection with someone. How many times I play with musicians, we cannot understand a word each other says, but we play, we're right in tune with each other. We're right in sync. Notice I said in tune. That was a joke. Okay. Just seeing if y'all were paying attention. No. It's just an amazing, amazing thing, and it truly is a life-saving force. And I will forever be an advocate for music education and arts education in general. Not everyone is on the doctor track, the lawyer track, the engineer track. That kid who's sitting in the corner who's always cutting up, he needs a creative outlet. That little girl who's always singing to herself, she needs a creative outlet. Technology is inspired by creativity. You take away creativity, what have you got? Absolutely. It's going to be a dull, dull world. So support your local arts. Support your local arts. Support your local arts. Okay, got that out of the way. All right. How are we doing on time? Am I good? All right. Sometimes I have a tendency to ramble on it. Did you ever really play a Stradivarius? Oh, I tell you, yeah, a Stradivarius violin. No, not yet. Not yet. I answered your question. I've had 2 opportunities to play Stradivarius violins. And they really are worth that much money. They're the best instruments ever made, ever. Anyone, the crappiest player in the world would sound like $1 million on a Stradivarius violin. I've had 2 opportunities to play one, but I've not been able to take advantage of it because my marketing and publicity team, they want to bring in cameras and they want to bring in a film crew and they want to do a whole thing. And I'm like, can I just play the violin? Like, no, we got to take advantage of this. And I'm like, I was invited by a very, very, very wealthy eccentric person in New York who has 2 Stradivarius violins. He has chamber music parties in his house once a month. People just come in and play these instruments. We sit around and we play chamber music, which is it's a lot more fun than it sounds, I promise you. And I'm there. No, you can't do this date, Brendan. We don't have the film crew. They're not going to be able to come. I was like, what? Are you serious? No, you can't go. So I haven't done it yet. Notice I say yet. It's coming. I won't, you know what? It's going to be our secret. I'll tell you when it's happening. How's that? Right? So, and then another question that I often get, what are the significance of your tattoos? What tattoos? Those tattoos. Oh, these tattoos. I have thank you tattooed on my forearm. Reason I have tattooed on my forearm thank you is because I am so incredibly grateful for all of the help that I have gotten throughout my life. From my violin teacher to my very first teacher who told me that I needed to do my work, to my violin teacher who told me that she could actually teach me and I actually had a shot at doing something, to my friends and family who have been so incredibly supportive over everything that I've done. There's no way I could be where I am right now without a ton of help and support. So I'm always going to show my gratitude, always. I get to see that every single day, and I truly, truly mean it. And it's also for you guys, because you all are here supporting me and supporting this book. My expectations for the Violin Conspiracy were 0. Who in the world would be interested in reading a book about a violin? Who knew? I had no idea. It's because of you guys, people like you all, who have nothing but support for me this entire journey. I've been on tour since 2021. I have not had a break. I have not had a vacation, but I'm taking one in January. I'm going to Italy, violin capital of the world. I'm doing that. I can't wait. Ugh, I'm tired though. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and it's a legitimate thank you. And some people say, well, what are you doing next? Well, I actually have another book out, as I see on the table over here. Wait, how many of you actually have the hardcover copy of The Violin Conspiracy, not this yellow monstrosity? Okay, the hardcover, I prefer the hardcover picture. It's just nicer. It's classier. You know, people say, why did you choose this? I didn't choose it. The marketing team did. You know why? It's got good shelf appeal. It's the first thing you see, right? Yeah. Definitely bright enough. So, well, made somebody buy it, so I'll take it. All right, cool. Cash your check only, please. All right, so calculator ready so they won't mess up your things. Symphony of Secrets is my second book. How many of you have read it? Okay. How many of you liked it? All right, awesome. Watch this. How many of you are gonna read it? All right, okay, hang on. That wasn't enough hands. I'll do it again. Symphony of Secrets. How many of you are going to read it? That's a little better. Okay, I'll take that. Symphony of Secrets is interesting. A lot of people ask, is it a sequel to The Violin Conspiracy? No, it is not at all. It takes place in the same universe. So there will always be references from subsequent books in everything that I write. There is, believe it or not, one of the main characters in Symphony of Secrets is mentioned in the final chapter of The Violin Conspiracy. I totally mentioned one of the characters, and someone said to me, well, I can't tell you that story because it'll be giving it away, but no, yeah, it's totally in the book, and people are like, how did you come up with this? What is, whatever. I got a 2-book deal when I wrote The Violin Conspiracy. So I had to write something. I'm like, all right, and I was telling Julie earlier, I was terrified when this book came out. Terrified, because it's not the Violin Conspiracy. It's not the Violin Conspiracy at all. And I was thinking that that's what people were expecting. So my expectations were, okay, I'm a one-hit wonder. I just kind of flopped. And I'd spoken to several seasoned authors. They all said the same thing. That second book, oh, it's the hardest. It's always not going to do well. Oh, it's terrible. So, my expectations are set. I'm like, all right, great. So this is going to be a flop. So when I hit that last period, I didn't read it. I didn't think about it for about 6 months. I sent it to a friend of mine who's also an author. We debuted at the same time, so we kind of watch each other and support each other's careers. And he read it. I was like, dude, just give it to me straight. Give it to me honestly. He's like, Brendan, this is good. Dude, really? Yes. And then he quoted something from the book, and I was like, whoa, you actually read it. Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. So, I didn't know what to expect. And my editor was happy with it, so I'm like, all right, dude. I was like, why are you happy with this? So I went back and I read it after 6 months. I can't believe I wrote it. I was like, this is good. I'm really digging this book. So I recommend it. I actually like it that much more than the Violin Conspiracy. Like, if you like the Violin Conspiracy, you're gonna love Symphony of Secrets. Hey, yeah.
I just received an email
From?
Audible published the list of best books for 2023, and Symphony of Secrets is in it.
Thank you. Good night. Wow, that is awesome. Whoa. Wow. Okay.
Could you repeat what she said? Because we
Oh, yes. Good evening, my name is Griselle. I just received an email from Audible. They published today the best books for 2023. Audible is the platform to listen to books. And the Symphony of Secrets is in the list of the best book of 2023.
Now I have to read that book. Awesome, cool. So, wow, yeah, and Symphony of Secrets actually deals with, one of the main characters lives with autism, which was not formally diagnosed, in America at least, until about the 50s. And Symphony of Secrets takes place in the 1920s and in the present day. So in the, in the 50s, it was like, okay, this is a condition. In the 20s, people just thought that you were crazy. And there was a lot of stigma that went along with it. And I get asked quite often, why did you choose, a person who lives with autism? I have a nephew who lives with autism. My best friend's brother lives with autism. One of my best friends in the symphony, her son, lives with autism. I've taught students who live with autism. And I know those people. I see them, I know them. And in things that I've read and seen, I've not really seen them represented well. I wanted a story where they could see themselves in a positive way. A lady came up to me in some state, I don't know where it was, and she said, thank you. For what? For writing a story that deals with autism. My daughter lives with autism, and I cry every single day because I don't feel like anyone really knows her. All they see is her behavior. They can't see past that. And I said, you know what? I see your daughter. Everyone, when they read this book, they will see your daughter in this book. And she just gave me a hug or something. I think she gave me her phone number too. But okay, calm down, lady. No, but it was just important to me because I have a personal connection to people living with autism, and it's a fantastic story. If you haven't read it, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys to hurry up. And because you haven't read The Violin Conspiracy, read it quick. Would you like to know why?
Yes.
Oh, you guys are speculating. Don't speculate. Just let me take a sip of water and I'll tell you. So I would go ahead and definitely get The Violin Conspiracy. Definitely go ahead and get Symphony of Secrets. I'm in talks with 2 sets of producers and directors right now for both books. It is insane. Sony Pictures optioned Violin Conspiracy a couple of years ago, but they did a screenplay for a miniseries, not a movie, and all the production houses were like, yeah, this is a movie, this is not a miniseries. Okay, fine, so that fell through. I got a call a couple of weeks ago from the guy who, what was it that he directed? It was a good movie, whatever it was. He's like, I want to do this. We need to have a meeting. So my dramatic rights agent, I have a dramatic rights agent. She's like, yeah, we have to set up a meeting. Can we do, no, I'll be traveling. I'll be in Ocean City, Maryland on that, Maryland, sorry, New Jersey, whoops. Sorry, that was a huge fox pass. Sorry about that. Oh, did I offend you that much? Oh,
Hi, I'm just sitting in the car. I go back to Atlantic City.
no. Okay. Hey, would you like for me to sign your book before you leave?
No, I got it out of the library.
They don't have to know. It's okay. Julie, you don't mind, do you? No, see? No, but I was like, no, I have a meeting. I have a thing in Ocean City, New Jersey, so I'm going to be unavailable. And then I'm going to Texas tomorrow. I'm going to Texas tomorrow, and I have a meeting with the guy who produced The Breakfast Club, Better Off Dead, Fried Green Tomatoes, American Beauty. And he's like, I want Symphony of Secrets. And I was like, okay, you got it, dude. I was like, as long as those zeros line up. No. But it's insane that I have, the two books that I've written, they are about to be made into movies. It's nuts. So go see Violin Conspiracy first. But anyway, and the question I get asked a lot, who's going to play Ray? A little shoe polish, I'm good to go. Good. Yeah, but no, honestly, I personally think that it should be a musician who plays Ray, not an actor. Because a musician who plays Ray will be able to relate to a lot of the experiences, and they'll be able to play all the music. I just, I can't stand those fake violin. I hate it when I see people. Doesn't even come close. And I get to consult on the film. Well, Brendan, does this look accurate? No, not at all. No. Okay, we're going to do this. So I'm really excited about that. That's a whole new thing that's happening. And on top of that, I'm trying to write. I'm almost done with my next book. Okay. Brandon, what's your next book about? I'm glad you asked. My next book, it's always going to have a musical theme, and it's in the same universe and everything. So you got to read these books. Read Symphony of Secrets if you have not. The next book will involve a cellist, witness protection, illegal organ harvesting, and a comic book superhero alter ego. I'm going to make it work. I will. I guarantee I'm going to make it work. And it's like, wow, that Brendan is something else, I tell you. And the book that I'm going to write after that, I've already got, my next 4 or 5 books. I'm going to be the Stephen King of musical thrillers. That is my goal. I'm going to, hey, Stephen King, he's in and he makes cameos. So I'm going to do that too. My next one it's music themed. It's going to be about, is the church organist here today? Okay, good. I can talk about a church organist. It's about a church organist who is not a nice lady. She is so not nice, someone tries to poison her. Is it the woman that she accompanies? Is it the piano trio that she plays in that she's totally ruined their chances of getting a major record deal? Is it... It could be anybody, but this is a mean lady. And is anyone's name in here Nancy? Okay, good. Her name is Nancy, and she's not a nice lady. All right. So that's actually what I'm doing, and I'm doing my edits right now, and I'm on chapter 5, and I've got 20 more chapters to do, but I'm in Ocean City, New Jersey, so it's going to take me a little while. Thankfully, that pub date is not until 2025, so I have some time to get that done, and yes, Brendan, how do you do it all? It's hard. Are you still teaching? Are you? No, I'm not really teaching right now because I there's no time. There's no time. If I gave up touring, I could teach. But if I give up touring, then I wouldn't be able to see your smiling faces. So yeah, I had to actually give up my studio, and it kind of sucks because it's so funny. Before the books came out, my students were, we're just regular, whatever. I see them every week. And as soon as the books came out, can we take your picture? I'm in your house every week. Are you being serious? Really? And then they take a picture and put it on Instagram, and I'm like, all right. Speaking of Instagram, I'm going to take 2 photos. This side, you guys are going to take a better picture. Would you like to know why? Because they're going to go first, and you're going to see how boring they are, and then you're going to do some stuff. All right, everybody say Instagram. See how boring that was? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give me something. Say Instagram. I take it back. You guys were just as boring as them. Wow. All right, so let me see if I can spice it up a bit. That was the best one. Questions? Well, I'm sorry. Last thing. Can I say thank you guys again? Thank you so. Stop. Wait, no. I sincerely am grateful to all of you for your support, for the support of this book, for the love that I have received coming here. I had lunch with a phenomenal group of people today. Y'all are the committee members for all of this stuff, right? Would y'all mind standing for a second? Please, ladies. All the work that has gone into this, I tell you, from the flights to the drives over, to the hotel, to lunch, to this event tonight, everything has been 100% Class A. So I've done a lot of these things, and not all of them have been 100% Class A. This definitely is one of my favorite events that I've had the opportunity to attend. So congratulations to you guys on a phenomenal job. Thank you so much, and thank you guys for all of your support. Thank you.
Vote one more time for Brendan. That was it. Was that not one of the best speakers I think we've ever had? I think that's we can all agree, you're definitely one of the best speakers. Honestly.
Is it Billy D. Williams?
You're a whole other level from Billy D. Williams. Yeah. So thank you so much, Brendan. That was absolutely wonderful. We're going to turn it over to our question and answer segment of our evening. We're going to start with a few questions that were pre-submitted. I will run this microphone around because I was going to put it in the middle, but just to make it easier, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand for Brendan. But I'm going to start with a few questions that were here. Question number 1, how long from the idea to publication did the book take to complete?
Exactly 1 year.
Wow.
I wrote Violin Conspiracy in 2 months. It was during COVID. There was nothing else going on. I was sitting on the couch eating Doritos, getting fatter and fatter every day. And if I was smart, I really would have bought stock in Doritos. But I just wrote every day, and then from the edits to the covers to the pictures to the acknowledgments, everything, exactly 1 year.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah. I want to ask one of my questions, which is, did you know the book's ending when you started writing, and did you know who was going to be the one? I guess I can do spoilers, but did you know who was going to betray him? I don't want to spoil for the person who's here, but did you know the ending when you started writing? Or did
Absolutely not. I had 5 alternate endings. I had 5 different culprits for who did it, and originally it was going to be Mikhail, his competition for the Serbian guy. It was going to be him originally, but I was like, it's just too obvious, so I didn't. I chose not to make it him.
That's yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Let's see. Another question: who are your favorite jazz and classical composers? It's a big question, but.
All right, classical composers. I have two absolute favorites. I'm a violinist, so the Italian violinist and composer Antonio Vivaldi is one. That's why I'm going to Italy. I'm going to go see his birthplace. It's violin music. He was called the Red Priest. He had red hair, and he actually taught at a school for illegitimate girls. So he would take like all the barons and like their illegitimate like children. They would send them to the school the church that he taught at, and he would have to have music for them to play. So he wrote over 500 concertos. And they were good because those concertos are hard. And he wrote them for these girls. And just an amazing violinist. So Antonio Vivaldi, and a Czech composer, Antonio Dvorak, is my absolute favorite to play and to listen to. Everything he wrote is so incredibly passionate. I love playing it. I love listening to it. I get to play Dvorak Chamber Music. I'm in heaven. I'm like, yes, we get to do this. It's great stuff. Jazz, I'm not good at jazz. I'm not a good jazz player at all, and I had to live vicariously through Ray with that. So, yeah, just name somebody, and yeah.
Those are good recommendations. Thank you. All right, so I don't have any more pre-submitted questions. So just raise your hand. I'm going to work my way over just so I don't run out of steam.
Yeah, hi.
Hey.
My name's Hector,
Hey, Hector.
and I grew up in Philadelphia
Okay.
from years 5 through 68, and so now I'm 70. But you made
Pretty good looking
references.
70, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, there's hope for me yet.
Thank you. You made references to Philadelphia in your book, and I wanted to know what is your connection with the city?
I love the city of Philadelphia. I love it. I have a couple of relatives that live there, and I just remember I have an aunt who lives in Cherry Hill, and they're all Eagles fans. And I remember as a kid, I'll never forget when the Eagles played. I think it was the Eagles and the Redskins, a Super Bowl one year. It was in like 1980. It was the only time the Redskins won. So sometime. So that was it. I mean, it was Eagles, Philadelphia. It was Philly. Yeah, that was the connection. And it's a great city. It's a great city. I like it.
You're preaching to the choir here.
In the book,
Yes.
your grandfather was a violinist.
Yes.
In your family, is there someone who is also musical?
I'm the
beside you?
first one.
You're the first one.
And my sister and brother took after me. My sister ended up playing cello afterwards. She played all through college. She's a doctor now. And my youngest brother, God rest his soul, he passed away a couple of years ago. He was one of the most incredible musicians I had ever seen. The reason I learned to play the oboe is because of him. He would play for me in my orchestras. Hey, I need an oboe player. Hey, okay, I'll come and play it. And just phenomenal. His senior recital was one of the most incredible things I had ever witnessed. And I was humbled because he asked me to give him some pointers. And I said, do this, do this, do this. Thinking, okay, he did every single thing that I said, and it was amazing. And he was taken away far too soon. Fuck cancer. And yeah, so I dedicated the books to him. And the main character, Byrne, in Symphony of Secrets, is my brother.
You also said that your father brought you the violin.
Yeah.
So do you think the passion for music comes from your father?
Let's go with yes. Why not? I will forever be indebted to he. I would not be here right now had he not. Okay, look at it like this. I'm a black dude who wanted to play the violin.
Oh, you wanted to?
I wanted to get out of class. A lot of parents would have just been like, no, we're not going to waste time and energy on that. No, but he did it. He did it for me, and it saved me. I would not be here right now if he didn't give me the support that I needed to do that. And, does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Great
Lovely
question.
jacket you wear.
Oh, we've got lots of questions. I'll come back.
I got you.
Oh, thank you.
I can't believe you wrote your first book in such a short amount of time.
Why not?
And how? Oh, I'm not saying you didn't, but I'm interested in creative writing, and I can work years on one song, and that's after getting lots of feedback and input. How did you go through that process? Did you have readers and directions that all along the way in 2 months? I mean, how did that happen?
Okay, so the story has been brewing in my head literally since I was 9 years old. It was so cathartic to be able to get that out and put it on paper. I let everyone read the first thing that I wrote was 20 years ago, and it's a science fiction novel. It's awful. If you ever see a science fiction novel with Brendan Slocumb's name on it, just bypass it. Seriously, it's terrible. And I didn't know how to write. I did not know how to write, and it took 20 years. Feedback, tons of feedback. I let so many people, a lot of people say, I don't want you to read this until it's good. How is it going to get good if you don't know what it is that you need to work on? So it's a product of me being a musician as well. I'm accustomed to criticism and critique. Let me know what I need to do to make it better. I absolutely will. So yeah, read it. Tell me what you think. And that's how I did it.
I believe you.
Oh. Wow, she believes me.
Thank you. Are any other questions on this side? All right, we're going to sneak over here.
I just have a quick one.
Wait.
Did you bring your violin?
I did not. It's hard to travel with that thing.
There's a fiddle on display in the library.
Hi, do you have in mind an actor who's going to play Nicole? Will she be a musician?
That's a good question. You know, initially, I thought when it was going to be a miniseries, I thought that they should have a different girl play Nicole in each episode. I thought that would be interesting. I never know. Well, is she black? Is she white? Is she Asian? Is she Latin? What is it? Who is Nicole? And then she'd have her own spin-off series, and that would be great. No, I'm actually thinking the actress Zendaya.
Good choice. I think that's a good choice.
Thank you. See, I know. These are nice pins.
How about you?
Who's going to play me? Oh, I just want a cameo at the end as Old Ray.
Play Ray.
Who's going to play Ray? There's a kid who plays violin. He's with Sony Records. His name is Randall Gooseby. He looks like me when I was a kid. He's a good-looking kid. Plays just like the violin was, like he was born with the violin in his hands. Randall Gooseby. Incredible. He would be perfect. He would be absolutely perfect. And then I go on at the end as Old Ray.
So we actually have 2 questions from the live stream going right now.
But this has been live streamed?
Did you know that was live stream?
No, that wasn't in the contract. No.
Oops. You're doing great. So we have 2 questions that actually we have a comment that you think you'll appreciate. It says, your Aunt Faye and Kim are watching you. You do us so proud.
Hey, Auntie Faye. Hey, Kim. Wow, thank you, guys.
That's really cool.
Okay, quick Kim story. The very first book thing that I did, my very first book thing, the very first one I did was in Philly. And my cousin Kim came, and there were 12 people there because it was a gross, cold, rainy, disgusting, cold night. Not that Philly ever has any of those, and she was there, and it made me smile so hard. I was like, I cannot believe you actually came. And I hadn't seen her in a long time. And thanks, cuz. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
Live stream. Oh, my God.
We have one more comment in. Said, I really enjoyed your book. This is from Phil. Let's see. By the way, I never questioned your references to music, but trusted that you knew what you were talking about. And he said, how many Stradivarius violins are there in the world today?
With the information I have, there's about 200 of them that are in working condition. And the thing is about Strads, if you don't play them, they don't work anymore. They go out of playing condition. So they need to be played. And when they're stolen, and they do get stolen, the people that steal them, they usually just steal them for a status. And they don't play. They just sit in a safe someplace. And, one of their crooked friends will come over. Look, I've got $1 million violin right here. Do you play it? No. And it just sits there. And then they'll get rid of it in a couple of years because, what am I going to do with a violin? And they normally use that. I did a ton of research. They will use it for leverage if they ever get caught. If you give me, if you take 20 years off my sentence, I'll tell you where this violin is because I sold it to that guy. And they do that. I'm like, wow. I know. Strads.
All right, thank you. Question right. Oh, any questions back here? Okay, we're gonna work this way. Okay, right here. Just share.
Enjoy that cookie.
Delicious.
My question is, the whole time you were talking and you were telling about your mentor for your music, who encouraged you? Who was your mentor that gave you the drive, the desire to write, to become an author?
Great. It's the first time I've ever been asked that. What's your name?
Cheryl.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hi. I taught art for 34 years.
Of course, yeah, I
And
knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Worked with theater and music, but I taught visual arts. So I'm relating to everything you're saying.
Yeah, I like you. I bet. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. My high school English teacher, her name was, I'll never forget her. She was the nicest. She went to my church. What was her name? Miss, yeah, the one that I'm never going to forget. Yeah. Anyway, Miss, thank you. Her name was Evelyn Farr, Pharr. I was fortunate enough to have her in 10th grade and 11th grade and 12th grade. She always encouraged me to write. She always did. And when we would write papers and, have to do reports or whatever, I'd never get mine back. And I would, why? What did you get? I got a C. What did you get? I got a D. Mine were always tacked up to the bulletin board and I never got them back. And, she always encouraged me to write. And when I was a senior in high school, for essays and everything, she would always go to me, and I'm kind of like, all right, I think she was just being nice because we went to the same church, but she truly, truly encouraged me. I guess she did, and that was her, and I'm forever grateful.
From there all the way to COVID, do you sit down and write this book in a year?
Well, I did the terrible science fiction novel. I'm not even going to tell you the name of it. You don't need to know. I wrote that, and then, it was I'm a songwriter for my band. And I can say this now, even though we're on the live stream. In college, I used to write some of my friends' papers for them. They always got A's, and they always paid well. $20 was a lot back then, So, I've always written, but I've never really tried to do anything seriously until COVID because I had zero creative outlet. I wasn't practicing anymore. I wasn't playing in symphony anymore because everything stopped and we didn't know how long it was going to last. So I needed that creative outlet and, I wrote the first chapter of The Violin Conspiracy and it started off kind of YA and my current agent was like, yeah, you should really think about doing this and, bump it up a bit. I'm like, all right, sure. I had nothing but time. And my expectation was zero, nothing. I had zero expectations.
So everybody else was unhappy, and it was a blessing for you.
Well, after I lost the 20 pounds that I gained from eating Doritos, I seriously did. I got so fat. Oh my gosh, I needed something to do, and that it was one of those things where I had the discipline to sit down every day because I was used to practicing. So I sat down every day at the same time, and I wrote every day for 2.5 months.
And you said it was in you since you were 9 years old, so it had time to bubble up.
Totally. And people ask, had COVID not happened, would you have written this book? I probably would have gotten around to it next year, but I definitely would have written it, but I think the timing was perfect for the story. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, let's let Brendan eat that cookie while I read you this question. Where are you going? Okay.
Good question over here.
Okay. It's a long question, so you have time to finish the cookie.
Right.
Okay. Brendan,
It's so fun.
you have Ray give a pale pink rose to an audience member before each concert in honor of his grandma Nora. Did you have a personal musical gimmick that you have, gimmick in quotes, that you've used, in your concerts to be recognizable?
You're looking at it.
That's it.
This was my gimmick, seriously, just me coming out. Normally I would wear sparkly earrings. Are you wearing earrings? Yeah, I have 2 earrings in right now. And, my tattoos are showing and people just, that's it. Just being black and a guy and playing violin, that's my gimmick. Seriously, I will walk out for concerts and stuff that I play. I walk out onto the stage and it's like, and then I'll play and they're like, it works well for recruiting and teaching also. I walk into a room, fourth, fifth, sixth grade boys, and they're, you know how fourth, fifth, sixth grade boys are. You walk in, and I'm like, look, you can get one of these from playing the violin. My muscles are bigger than, dude, no, they're not. Look, but this is all from playing violin. They're like, whoa, I can look like, yes, and you can play the violin. It gets chicks. You can do it, dude. And it's a great recruitment tool.
How often do you play now? I mean, with your touring schedule and everything, do you get to practice?
I'm sorry, with a mouthful of this delicious cookie. Is the person who made the cookies here? No, well, they're really good. Your cookies are dope. Right. I don't get to play nearly as much as I used to, just because, I actually had to quit the orchestra that I was playing in because I'm just gone so much. And when I get home, okay, so I'm flying to Texas tomorrow. I'm coming home a day early. I get home on Sunday. I change clothes. I go to play a recital Sunday night. I'm playing a Mozart divertimento and a four-A piece, a four-A piano trio, and ask me how much I've practiced. I practiced before I left yesterday. So I don't get to play nearly as much as I'd like to, but the violin is the reason that I'm here and still going, so I'm never going to give it up. I won't be as proficient as I was at one point, at this point, because, it's just not number one on my list of stuff to do, but I play every chance I get.
Quick question. Do you like the Temptations? And what other music do you like?
It's kind of a specific question. I love the Temptations. I do. When I was teaching general music, I had my sixth grade boys do My Girl, complete with choreography. And, I was playing it on the piano, and I love the Temptations. And I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I love everything. People say, what do you listen to? If you look at my playlist on Spotify, it's insane. I listen to classical music. I listen to hard rock. I listen to jazz. I listen to bluegrass. I listen to rap. I listen to hip hop. I listen to everything. It's all in my playlist. I love it all. I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I appreciate everything. I went to Nashville one year to learn how to play bluegrass. Changed my life. It's great stuff. And of course, I looked kind of like I do right now. I was the only one in the room. They were just like, "What are you doing here? Are you here to cook?" No. Yeah, I'm here to learn it. Yeah, but I mean, that's what it was. It was okay. I'll take those hits. But yeah, I love everything.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions on this side? Yep. Pass this down.
Thank you for coming tonight. You've been amazing.
Oh, thank you. That's nice of you to say. Your check's coming.
You got the address, right?
Yeah, got it.
I listened to the book on audio, so and thank you for publishing it on audio because not all authors do. But was that you playing in between the chapters?
They gave me 2 days to play all of that stuff, and I was like, "There's no way. I can't prepare it in 2 days." So I chose all of those musical excerpts, but I didn't have time. They were like, "Oh, you want to play?" It's like, "When do you need this recording in?" Like tomorrow. No, I can't do it. So yeah.
That was a beautiful touch.
It was.
I'm so happy you said that because that was actually my agent's idea. It was, he was like, "Well, what can we do that's different?" And the audio company, they were kind of like, "Well, we've never tried anything like this, but we'll give it a shot," and I'm glad it worked.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you so much. It's my idea.
I just want to point out that I also listened to the audiobook, and I was telling Brendan earlier that I love the narrator, like one of my favorites. So how many people listen to an audiobook? About like half-ish the room. Yeah. I loved it, so I just want to point that out. You had a question?
No,
Oh.
but I do have a comment.
Okay.
Do I have to use the mic?
They're not going to hear you in the back.
Yeah, just for the people.
I belong to one of the book groups here at the library, and we have just renamed ourselves the Dot Turner Book Club. And we read your book in memory of Dot, who was a member of our book group.
Oh.
And we lost her last year, and we really enjoyed it. And she was on the committee, so we read the book in memory of Dot. And
That is very sweet.
Thank you for doing that. That's really nice. Any more questions? Yeah, I'll come back.
just started reading Sheila Johnson's book, Through the Fire. And she, as well, you know, through high school, the violin was her life. And she had a high school teacher that just took her under her wing and just throughout her life and just, you know, helped her get through college and just all of her, regardless as to all the trauma that was going in her family's life, the violin was her soulmate to really get her through all of it. And it's a good read. I really enjoyed all of her challenges and how this violin really took her through all of it. It was good. So it reminds me of you and your life, what you're saying.
You know what else it's going to remind you of? It's going to remind you to read that book.
Oh, look, my checkbook is in the car.
They take checks and cash. Hey.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I had a grandmother who came from Italy and could not read or write, signed with an X. But every Saturday, as grandchildren, we were required to come over, and she played opera and classical music for us. And that's how we learned to appreciate music, and it was wonderful. So grandmothers are perfect.
To all the grandmothers in the room, although all of you are way too young to be grandmothers. You need to say that again to everybody.
I have 21 grandchildren.
And I bet they think you're just as sweet as my grandma Nora. Of course they do. Wow. Thank you, grandmothers. Y'all are awesome people. Even though there are no grandmothers in here, it's only one. Hey. She's going to sing for us.
No. For you personally, what are the commonalities in being a musician, a teacher, an author, and how you reach your audiences of all of those? Challenges, commonalities.
Do I have to answer that?
She's the school library.
You know what? People often ask me, I get a lot of that, and I'm a guy who was extremely lucky. I am a teacher who happens to have played the violin, who happens to like to write. They all go together to me. It's all art as far as I'm concerned. With my music stuff, that carries over into the writing, the discipline, the creativity, the creative aspect. When I'm listening to a piece of music, it's the imagery that just happens. I get to experience that all the time. In the writing, I just write it down. And the stories, I can throw I've got stories for teachers. You guys, we have stories for decades. Just all kinds of craziness that goes on. And people ask me, are you a teacher, are you a musician, or are you a writer? I'm a lucky guy who taught for a couple of decades, happens to be a musician, who happens to write. I don't consider myself a thing. I'm just a guy who's here. Brendan, you're so humble. I know. I honestly believe, I don't know what everyone's religious affiliation is in here, and I try not to get too religious with stuff because, you never know. Everything is offensive to people, so I just, but not here in Ocean City. No, never here. I truly believe, I can tell you guys this, I truly believe I have been chosen to do what it is that I do. I'm not even kidding. And if anyone asks me, I'll tell you. Quick story. Please make it quick. No, quick story. When I wasn't such a nice guy. I know that's hard to believe, Brendan, you're so cool. I used to be not such a nice guy. I really feel like I was a very self-centered, selfish person. I got really, really sick in 2017. Sick to the point where I was 12 hours away from dying. The doctor told me, if you don't go to the ER right now, you're not going to be alive tomorrow. It's okay. My blood pressure was 260 over 200. It was I don't even know how you made it in here. I'm in ICU for a week. They're like, we don't know what is going on. And finally, at the end of the week, the doctor was like, okay, this combination of meds, we finally got your blood pressure stabilized, but it was an acute case of something, I don't know what it was. It was like, this only happens to 1 in 9 million people. I was like, okay, this sucks. He's like, the only reason you're still alive is because you don't smoke, you don't drink, and you're in good shape. Okay, so I went from 200 pounds of muscle, I was actually about to enter a bodybuilding competition. I was in the gym every day. 200 pounds of muscle to 120 pounds. I was so weak because my heart had been working at such a high level for so long, it finally calmed down. I literally had to crawl from my bed to the bathroom every day. That's how bad off I was. My friends and my family, they helped me. They cooked for me. They cleaned for me. They did my laundry. They took me to my doctor appointments. They took me to the pharmacist. Friends and family, I'm not kidding when I say thank you, and I'm grateful for all of this stuff. I was supposed to die. I was supposed to die. I wanted to die because it was the hardest thing I've ever endured. You talk about rock bottom, I was under the rock. I was at my lowest point. Got to the point where I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. I was about to be homeless because I couldn't work. You know, and believe it or not, the landlords don't care if you know, it's like, whatever. So I had a ton of friends help me. Everything that they did was to help me get back to the person that, you know, I should have been the whole time. And when I realized, okay, this is a sign. This is a sign. God said, all right, I think you get it now. And he gave me success. He kept me here and he gave me success, and now I get to go to people and change their lives in some small way. The fact that you guys are so open to, you know, the perspective of Ray and the Violin Conspiracy is different from every single person in here. It's my perspective, and you don't judge. You just are open to realizing, hey, things are different for some people. And that's an important lesson. People often say to me, I didn't believe a word of it until I heard you speak. And I didn't think that it was possible for things like that to happen to people. Yes, they do. The fact that you guys are willing to understand and what is it like for someone who looks like you. You know, I get to do that to people. I get to bring that information to people, and people's hearts and minds get changed. I think I'm the conduit for that, and that was a gift. It is truly a gift, and every single day I get to say thank you because I have been chosen to still be here to do that.
Thank you so much, Brendan. Just one more round of applause for him because we're going to switch over to book signing. Thank you so much, Brendan. We are now going to turn over so we have enough time for book signing.